Here's another Murderer's Row of comics coming out this week in the genre of horror. Remember, this is not a set of reviews, just a list of what you'll find when you head to the shops this week in comics horror, June 28th, 2023. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights. I'm ML Miller. Before we begin, please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. Let's check out This Week in Comics Horror, June 28th, 2023. Zach Carter, the writer of The Denim Devil, dropped me a line and asked if I still did comic reviews. I said no, I don't. But if this comic was in the horror genre, I'd be happy to mention it in This Week in Comics Horror. This week, the third issue of The Denim Devil drops. It's about the world's worst serial killer who hasn't quite worked up to killing anyone yet. He wears a mask made of blue jeans, using the zipper as a mouth hole, of course, and is bold enough to wear denim on denim in this day and age. The Denim Devil feels a lot like early Garth Ennis comics, which takes elements you love from the horror genre and twists it into new, vibrant, and fun ways. It's gory, it's altogether wrong, I love it, and I said I wouldn't do a review of it, but here I go doing one anyway. Be sure to check out this new, fresh take on the slasher genre. It's halfway through the series, and you can catch up by following the link I've provided down below before the comments. This week in
Ass, titties, titties, ass, and titties
shows that appreciation of the female form is not a dying art. I'm in awe at the fact that Jim Balent has been providing bodacious comics, heavy on swords, magic, and of course gals with bitties. In this booberific issue, Taro is on a tear looking for the cursed huntsman, and I'm sure when she finds him, they're gonna kiss, or something. While I at first shied away from placing the Elvira comics in the
ass and titties
category, I remembered that the Mistress of the Macabre seems damn proud of her enormous front bumpers, and why shouldn't I give her the props she deserves? In Elvira in Monsterland number 2, Dracula is stealing the classic Universal monsters, and in this issue, Elvira must stop him from nabbing Frankenstein. Sounds like fun. And in Vampirella versus the Superpowers, number 2, Vampy teams up with Dynamite to solve a murder amongst the superhero community. See Vampy bounce her way through a whole gaggle of public domain superheroes in this exciting series from Dan Abnett, Pasquale Qualano, and Dynamite Entertainment.
Go Boo!
This week in indie horror comics once again shows that outside of the mainstream is where it's at when it comes to scares. The Neighbors number 4 is from Jude Ellison S. Moore and Letizia Cadonici, and about a family moving into a town and finding it to be filled with strange things going on. In Exorcists Never Die number 3, a pair of exorcists battle their way through the next level of hell ruled by gluttony. This Dante-esque story is brought to you by my pal Steve Orlando and Sebastián Piriz. Up next is pop-up number 3 from Blood Moon Comics, which has an exhibit of the most cursed objects in the world that begins attacking the people who have come to see them. And in The Seasons Have Teeth, number 3, a man sets out to get pictures of monstrous versions of the seasons, and if you thought summer was a beast, wait until you get a gander at autumn. Finally, in Dark Places, Good Deeds, number 2, an outcast teen is the only witness to a bizarre murder during the 450th anniversary of the town of St. Augustine, Florida. Find out how they are connected as the city's dark history is delved into. This Week in First Issue Horrors has a quartet of comics beginning this week. Animals number 1 sounds interesting. It's about the animals rising up and revolting against humans, and that cover is pretty darn gnarly. I'm always up for a good old vampire comic, and that seems to be just what Vampire Macabre Nosferatu Special number 1 is. Dead World writer Tim Vigil, Frank Forte, and Edu Mena bring a trio of tales about the Queen of Vampires, a post-apocalypse filled with vampires, and a new character called Feline Fatale, promising bloody action horror aplenty. Another connected universe comes from American mythology called Cursed Universe, Blighted Dawn. It pairs a quintet of characters, Bombshell, Tom Tom, Witchhammer, the Crematorian, love that name, and the Night Terror, against dark and horrifying forces. I'm always down for another attempt at a shared comic book universe, and this one seems to be firmly set in the realm of horror, so I'm game. Finally, Hellboy and the BPRD 1957 Fearful Symmetry #1 from Mike Mignola, Chris Robertson, Allison Sampson, and Dark Horse is due out this week following the further adventures of Hellboy and his team of paranormal investigators. A strange beast attacks a small town, causing the BPRD to investigate. I never really got into Hellboy, but the long-running character is always worth a look-see. This week in Marvel Horror shows that the House of Ideas still has some spooky rooms in it. I haven't followed Predator in a bit, but this issue, written by my buddy Ed Brisson and drawn by Nito Diaz, says it's about two warring families with the Predators caught in the middle. Over in Alien #3, another comic I've fallen behind on, by Declan Shalvey and Andrea Boccardo, continues the timeline from the Ridley Scott original as a recovery team battles the xenomorphs in their chest-burster stages, trying to keep the creatures from evolving to its next stage. Finally, Benjamin Percy and Corey Smith continue to pit Ghost Rider and his FBI agent partner against an evil doctor who has stolen Danny Ketch's soul. I like how this series continues to expand on the Blaze-Ketch relationship rather than tossing the flaming skull on every other person in the book. Good stuff. This week in James Tynion IV's Horror shows why he's the best horror writer in the biz right now. First, Tynion delves into Doom Patrol territory by introducing a new character known as Christopher Chaos in The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos. While it doesn't look like it from the covers, Tynion describes it as a surreal horror comic focusing on a kid who happens to be a magnet for strange things. World Tree #3 continues to explore the mysterious power of the dark web and how the World Tree makes its viewers do horrible acts of violence. And my favorite Tynion comic right now, Blue Book, releases its 5th issue, continuing to go into the UFO abduction of Barney and Betty Hill, what they remember, what they buried in their subconscious, and what the government doesn't want them to talk about. I love UFO conspiracy stories, especially ones like this, which takes one of the most popular alien abductions and frames it in comic book form in excellent fashion with Michael Avon Oeming's art. Finally, here are the comics I'm most looking forward to checking out this week. Ed Piskor is back with the 2nd issue of his 3rd and final arc of Red Room. This one's called Red Room Crypto Killers. When cryptocurrency begins to fall in value, it has a devastating effect on the deep web's biggest online torture porn dungeon. See what happens to these twisted minds when they get desperate for cash. Trust me, it ain't going to be pretty. And I love just about everything Steve Niles does nowadays, and BRYNMORE looks amazing. He's got his artist Damian Worm, who worked with Niles on the October faction, and BRYNMORE #1 looks to be the start of something monstrously good. That cover alone is getting me stoked to see what this book is all about. Well, that was 21 horror comics on the shelves this week. Surely there's something in there you'll find worth your time and money. Let me know which ones look good to you down in the comments.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality. You're doomed. Oh, you're doomed. You're doomed. You're doomed. Live the life that you are meant to be. Live inside